Have you ever stopped and wondered, what am I really supposed to be doing with my life? We're all born with this unique set of skills and abilities, and today we're going to go on a journey to figure out exactly what those are, and maybe more importantly, what they're for. So, let's dive in.
So, right off the bat, I want to ask you something directly. Just think about it for a second. What are you uniquely good at? It could be anything. Something you do at work, a hobby, maybe even something you've never really thought of as a talent. Just keep that question in your mind as we go through this together.
Because here's the big idea we're exploring today. Those things you're good at, they aren't just random quirks of fate. The whole idea here is that they were given to you intentionally. They're woven into the very fabric of who you are, and they're meant for something bigger. So here's how we're going to break this down. We've got 5 parts. First, we'll dig into what makes your gifts unique. Then we'll talk about this idea of a divine responsibility. After that, we get super practical with how to discover your gifts and then how to develop them. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at some awesome examples of these gifts in action. All right, let's jump right into part 1, your unique gifts. This is all about looking at your personal talents not just as isolated skills, but as a crucial piece of a much, much larger puzzle. And you know, the main point here isn't just about self-discovery for the sake of it. It's about realizing that your unique abilities are kind of like that one missing puzzle piece. Once you understand what they are, you start to see exactly how you fit into the bigger picture and how you can best serve the people around you.
Okay, that leads us right into our second big idea, which really takes these talents and elevates them beyond just being simple hobbies or skills. It's this concept of a divine responsibility.
This quote from 1 Peter, it's really at the heart of everything. It gives us 2 simple but honestly profound truths. First, everyone gets a gift. No one is left out. And second, the whole point of that gift is to serve other people. It's a really powerful call to look beyond ourselves.
And this brings us to this word, stewardship. What does that even mean? Well, think of it like this. Your talents aren't something you just own, like you own a car. They're more like resources that have been entrusted to you. And that means you've got a responsibility to manage them well, to take care of them, and to use them for good.
You know, there's a story that illustrates this perfectly. The parable of the talents. In it, a master gives 3 of his servants different amounts of money, or talents, before he goes on a long trip. He doesn't give them a ton of instructions, but the expectation is pretty clear. Do something productive with what I've given you. And this table just breaks it down so clearly. The first 2 servants, they get to work, they invest, and they double what they were given. And they're praised for it. But that 3rd servant, he gets scared. He just digs a hole and buries his talent. He returns exactly what he started with. And he gets reprimanded. And this isn't just some old story. It speaks directly to our fears today, right? That fear of failure can make us bury our own talents, maybe in a safe job we don't love, or by just not trying so we can't be criticized. The real insight here is that playing it safe out of fear is the biggest risk of all. Okay, so if we're not supposed to bury our gifts, how in the world do we figure out what they are in the first place? Well, that brings us to section 3. This is our practical guide to identifying your unique talents. This is where we get actionable. The source material lays out this awesome 5-step process. It starts inward. You've got to look at what you're passionate about, what just comes naturally to you. Then it moves outward. Ask people you trust for some honest feedback. There's also a spiritual element, praying for guidance. And finally, and this is so important, you have to take action. You have to experiment, try new things, and see what sticks. Now, once you have an idea of what your gifts might be, the journey is far from over. In fact, it's just getting started. That brings us to section 4, developing your talents. Because finding a gift is like finding a seed. You still have to water it and care for it if you want it to grow. This quote from Timothy really hits the nail on the head. It's basically saying, hey, don't just let your gift sit on a shelf. Be diligent. Give yourself completely to it. It's an active thing. You know, just like a muscle, a talent only gets stronger when you intentionally and consistently work it out. So how do we actually do that? Well, here are 3 really practical ways. Go seek out some training, get a mentor, or take a class. Then you've got to use your gifts regularly. Find any opportunity you can to put them into practice. And this last one is critical. Stay humble and teachable. No matter how good you get, there's always more to learn. All right, and that brings us to our final section, and it's one of my favorites, gifts in action.
Let's look at a couple of historical examples to see just how wildly different types of talents can all serve a greater purpose. First up, let's talk about Bezalel. His gifts were all about craftsmanship. He had these incredible, highly technical skills with metal, stone, and wood, and these really practical, hands-on abilities were used to build something of massive spiritual importance, the sacred tabernacle. It just goes to show you that artistic, creative talents have amazing value. And then you have someone like the Apostle Paul. His gifts were totally different. He was all about teaching, leadership, and communication. He used those abilities to build entire communities, to mentor people, and to spread a message that literally changed the course of history. It shows how those relational and intellectual gifts can have a huge impact. So, from craftsmanship to leadership and everything in between, we've seen that every single gift has a purpose. The big takeaway is this: your gifts are meant to be discovered, they're meant to be developed, and they are meant to be used. So, the final question really is for you. Knowing all this, what's your first step going to be?